Listen carefully. The moment someone betrays you is the moment your true power is tested. Most people react with anger, revenge, or desperation. But what if the real victory is something deeper? Something silent. Something that makes you untouchable. Betrayal cuts deep because it often comes from people we trusted. It shakes your sense of reality and makes you question everything. You replay the moment over and over, wondering how you didn't see it coming. But Stoicism teaches something powerful. What hurts you is not the betrayal itself, but your judgment of it. The event happened, but your suffering comes from how you choose to interpret it instead of reacting emotionally. The Stoic chooses awareness. You pause. You observe. You refuse to let someone else's actions control your inner state. This is where your strength begins. Because the moment you stop reacting, you start rising. Most people think revenge is about getting even. Stoicism flips that idea completely. True revenge is not about harming others. It's about becoming someone who is no longer affected by what they did. It's about growth so strong that their betrayal becomes irrelevant. When someone betrays you, they reveal their character, not yours. Their actions are a reflection of their own weakness, not your worth. The Stoic understands this deeply and refuses to internalize someone else's flaws. You don't carry their failure as your burden. Instead of chasing revenge, you redirect your energy. You focus on improving your mind, your discipline, your purpose. You become stronger, calmer, and more focused than ever before. While others are consumed by emotions, you are building a version of yourself that cannot be shaken. Silence becomes your weapon. You don't argue. You don't explain. You don't try to prove anything. You simply step back and let your actions speak over time. This kind of silence is powerful because it shows control. It shows that you are no longer playing the same game. Betrayal is painful, but it is also a teacher. It shows you who people really are. It sharpens your awareness. It forces you to grow beyond dependency on others. And in that process, you become more independent, more disciplined, and more resilient. The Stoic does not waste time asking why it happened. Instead, you ask, what can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger? This shift in thinking transforms pain into power. It turns a negative experience into a stepping stone for growth. You begin to realize that not everyone is meant to stay in your life. Some people come only to teach you lessons. And once that lesson is learned, holding on only creates more suffering. Letting go is not weakness. It is clarity. There is a quiet confidence that comes when you stop seeking validation. When you no longer need people to understand you, support you, or agree with you, you become free. That freedom is something betrayal can never take away. Discipline becomes your foundation. You wake up with purpose. You work on yourself when no one is watching. You build habits that strengthen your mind and body. This is how you rise above the situation, not by reacting, but by evolving. You stop talking about what happened. You stop explaining your pain to people who don't understand. Instead, you channel everything into becoming better. This is what makes you unstoppable. Because your energy is no longer wasted. Time reveals everything. People who betray others often face the consequences of their actions. But as a Stoic, you don't wait for that. You don't depend on it. Your focus is entirely on your own path, your own growth, your own peace. Peace is your ultimate victory. Not revenge, not proving a point, not making them regret what they did, but reaching a state where their actions no longer disturb your mind. That is true power. Imagine becoming so strong mentally that nothing anyone does can shake you. Imagine reaching a level where your happiness is completely independent. This is what Stoicism offers you. And it starts the moment you choose not to react. You are not defined by what happened to you. You are defined by how you respond. And when you choose growth over revenge, silence over noise, and discipline over emotion, you step into a higher version of yourself. This is Stoic revenge without revenge. Becoming better, becoming stronger, becoming unshakable. There comes a moment after betrayal where everything feels quiet, but heavy. Not the kind of silence that brings peace, but the kind that forces you to sit with your thoughts. This is the moment most people try to escape. They distract themselves, they vent to others, they look for someone to blame. But the Stoic does something different. You stay in that silence. You face it because within that discomfort is where your transformation begins. You begin to understand that betrayal is not just about what someone else did. It's also about what you allowed, what you ignored, and what you can learn. This is not about blaming yourself, it's about taking back control. Because the moment you take responsibility for your growth, no one can ever have power over you again. Think about it. The person who betrayed you acted based on their nature. Maybe they lacked loyalty. Maybe they lacked discipline. Maybe they were driven by selfishness or weakness. But none of that defines you. What defines you is what you choose to do next. Most people stay stuck because they keep looking backward. They replay conversations. They imagine different outcomes. They wish things had been different. But the Stoic understands something crucial. The past cannot be changed, but your response to it can shape your entire future. So instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" you begin to ask a more powerful question. Who do I need to become because of this? This question changes everything. Because now, betrayal is no longer a setback, it becomes a catalyst. A turning point, a moment that forces you to rise. You start building emotional discipline. You no longer react instantly to pain. You give yourself space. You think before you speak. You act with intention, not impulse. This alone puts you ahead of most people, because emotional control is rare in a world driven by reactions. You also begin to value your energy differently. You realize that not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves your trust, your time, or your attention. And instead of feeling bitter about that, you feel empowered. Because now, your circle becomes stronger, smaller, and more meaningful. Trust is no longer given freely, it is earned. And that's not a negative thing. That's wisdom. As you continue to grow, you'll notice something interesting. The need to prove yourself disappears. You no longer feel the urge to show people what they lost. You don't need to post about your success, or indirectly send messages, or seek validation. Because deep down, You know your worth. And when you know your worth, silence becomes natural. There's a quiet confidence that develops within you. You walk differently. You think differently. You move differently. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you've built something real within yourself. This is what people don't understand about Stoic strength. It's not loud. It's not aggressive. It doesn't seek attention. It simply exists, steady and unshakable. And over time, people notice. Not because you told them, but because they can feel it. Another powerful shift happens when you stop expecting closure from others. Many people stay stuck because they want explanations. They want apologies. They want the other person to admit they were wrong. But the Stoic lets go of that need. Because you realize that closure is something you give yourself. You don't need someone else to validate your experience. You don't need them to understand your pain. You don't need them to fix what they broke. You fix it by becoming stronger. You heal by moving forward. And in doing so, you take your power back completely. There will be days when the pain resurfaces. Moments when something reminds you of what happened. This is normal. Healing is not linear. But the difference now is that you don't let those moments control you. You acknowledge the feeling, and then you return to your path. You stay focused. You stay disciplined. You keep moving forward, because you understand that your future is more important than your past. And this is where true freedom begins. Freedom from resentment. Freedom from anger. Freedom from needing revenge. Because at a certain point, you realize that the best form of revenge is becoming someone who no longer needs it. Let that sink in. You don't need to win against them. You just need to outgrow the version of yourself that was hurt. And when you do that, everything changes. Your standards rise. Your mindset sharpens. Your life improves. Not because of what they did, but because of how you responded. And this is why Stoicism is so powerful. It doesn't promise that life will be easy. It doesn't promise that people won't hurt you. But it gives you the tools to remain strong no matter what happens. It teaches you that your peace is your responsibility. Your growth is your responsibility. Your life is your responsibility. No one else is coming to save you, and that's not a bad thing. Because it means everything is in your control. You begin to rely on yourself more. You trust your decisions. You build your own path. And in doing so, you become independent in a way that most people never experience. This independence is powerful, because it means no one can take your peace away. No one can break you the way they once did. No one can control your emotions. You've taken that power back. And once you reach this level, something surprising happens. You stop seeing betrayal as something purely negative. You begin to see it as necessary. Because without it, you wouldn't have grown this much. You wouldn't have learned these lessons. You wouldn't have discovered your strength. Sometimes, the people who hurt you the most are the ones who push you to become your best. Not intentionally, but inevitably. And when you understand this, you stop holding on to anger. You let go not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. As time goes on, you begin to notice something that most people never realize. The pain that once felt unbearable starts to lose its weight. Not because it disappears completely, but because you've grown stronger than it. What once controlled your emotions now becomes something you observe from a distance. And this is where your real power reveals itself. You are no longer reacting to life. You are responding to it. There is a difference. Reaction is instant, emotional, uncontrolled. Response is calm, thoughtful, intentional. When someone betrays you, your first instinct might be to react, to confront, to argue, to seek justice in the moment. But the Stoic teaches you to pause, to breathe, to step back from the situation and see it for what it truly is. An event, not your identity, not your destiny, just an event. This shift in perspective gives you control over your mind. And once you control your mind, everything else follows. You begin to build a level of emotional intelligence that sets you apart. You start to see patterns in people. You recognize behaviors before they become problems. You trust your instincts more because you've learned from your past instead of being trapped by it, and slowly, your circle changes. You become more selective with who you allow into your life. Not out of fear, but out of wisdom. You understand that your peace is valuable, and not everyone deserves access to it. This is not isolation. This is self-respect. You stop chasing people. You stop trying to convince others of your worth. You stop over-explaining yourself. And in that silence, you discover clarity. Clarity about who you are. Clarity about what you want. Clarity about what you will never tolerate again. This clarity becomes your foundation. From this point forward, your actions are no longer driven by emotion but by purpose. You wake up with direction. You move with intention. You speak less, but when you do, your words carry weight. Because they come from a place of understanding. There is something incredibly powerful about a person who has been hurt but chooses not to become bitter. Someone who has been betrayed but refuses to betray their own values. This is rare, and because it is rare, it is powerful. You begin to realize that not everyone will understand your journey. Some people will misinterpret your silence as weakness. Others may think you've moved on too quickly. But the truth is, they are still operating at a level of thinking that you've outgrown. You don't need to explain your growth. You don't need to justify your peace. You simply live it, and over time, your life becomes proof of your transformation. Your focus sharpens. Your habits improve. Your discipline strengthens. You invest in yourself in ways you never did before. You read more. You think more. You reflect more. You become intentional about how you spend your time, because you now understand that time is your most valuable asset. And you no longer waste it on people or situations that drain you. There will still be moments of doubt. Moments where you question if you're doing the right thing. Moments where loneliness creeps in, but even in those moments, you remain grounded. Because you've built something within yourself that cannot be shaken easily. You've built resilience. Resilience is not about never feeling pain. It's about feeling it and still choosing to move forward. It's about waking up every day and committing to your growth, even when it's uncomfortable. And that's what separates you from most people. Most people stop when things get hard. You continue. Most people seek comfort. You seek growth. Most people react. You reflect. And this difference compounds over time. Months pass. Years pass. And one day, you look back at the person you used to be. The version of you that was hurt, confused, and searching for answers. And you barely recognize that person. Not because you've forgotten what happened, but because you've evolved beyond it. You've turned pain into wisdom. You've turned betrayal into strength. You've turned silence into power. And now, you walk through life with a different energy. A calm energy. A focused energy. An unshakable energy. People notice it, even if they can't explain it. They feel your presence. They sense your discipline. They respect your boundaries. Because you no longer tolerate what once broke you. And this is where your life begins to align in ways you never expected. Opportunities come. New connections form. Better experiences enter your life. Not by chance, but because you've become the kind of person who attracts them. Your standards have changed. Your mindset has changed. Your identity has changed. And everything around you reflects that change. You are no longer the person who was betrayed. You are the person who overcame it. You are the person who learned from it. You are the person who grew because of it, and that is something no one can take away from you. At this stage, revenge feels unnecessary. It feels small. It feels like something you've outgrown. Because why would you go back to a mindset that keeps you stuck, when you've already moved forward? Why would you give your energy to someone who is no longer part of your life, when that energy can be used to build something greater? You understand now that your energy is limited. And where you invest it determines your future. So you choose wisely. You choose growth. You choose discipline. You choose peace. And in doing so, you create a life that is not dependent on others. A life that is stable, focused, and fulfilling. This is the essence of Stoic revenge without revenge. It is not about destruction. It is about construction. Building yourself into someone so strong, so disciplined, and so focused that the past no longer has power over you. And as you continue on this path, something even deeper happens. You begin to develop compassion. Not in a weak or passive way, but in a way that shows understanding. You start to see that people who betray others are often struggling within themselves. They lack something: integrity, discipline, awareness. And while this doesn't justify their actions, it helps you release the emotional weight attached to them. Because you no longer take it personally. You see it for what it is, a reflection of them, not you. And this realization sets you free in a way that anger never could. You stop carrying emotional baggage. You stop holding grudges. You stop replaying the past. And instead, you focus fully on the present. On what you can control. On what you can build. On who you are becoming. And this is where true peace exists. Not in the absence of problems, but in the ability to remain steady despite them. Not in controlling others, but in controlling yourself. Not in seeking revenge, but in rising above the need for it. As your journey continues, you become a source of strength for others. People who are going through similar experiences look at you and find inspiration. Not because you talk about it constantly, but because your life reflects it. Your discipline inspires. Your calmness inspires. Your focus inspires, and without even trying, you become an example of what is possible. This is how real influence works. Not through words alone, but through consistent action. And the more you stay on this path, the more you realize that everything you went through had a purpose. It shaped you, it strengthened you, it prepared you for a life that requires a higher level of thinking, a stronger mindset, and a deeper sense of purpose. So instead of resenting the past, you begin to appreciate the lessons. You begin to see that without those experiences, you wouldn't be who you are today. And that realization brings a sense of closure that no apology ever could. You've closed the chapter on your own terms. You've taken your power back. You've moved forward. And now, you stand as a different person. Stronger, wiser, calmer, more focused than ever before. So if you're watching this right now and you've been betrayed, understand this. You are not at the end of your story. You are at the beginning of your transformation. This moment, as painful as it feels, is shaping you into someone greater. Someone who doesn't break easily. Someone who doesn't depend on others for validation. Someone who moves with purpose and discipline. So don't waste this moment. Use it, build from it, grow through it, because one day, you will look back and realize that this was the moment everything changed. The moment you stopped reacting and started evolving. The moment you stopped chasing and started building. The moment you stopped seeking revenge and started becoming unstoppable. And when that day comes, you won't need to prove anything to anyone. Your life will speak for itself. Your peace will speak for itself. Your strength will speak for itself. Stay silent, stay disciplined, stay focused, and keep rising. If this message resonated with you and you're ready to transform pain into power, then this is your place. Subscribe to this channel for more deep, life-changing lessons on Stoicism, mental strength, and self-discipline. Like this video if you felt this message. And comment, "I rise in silence," if you're choosing growth over revenge. Your journey starts now.